Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar on strategies for effective classroom communication with Amy Robertson. We'll get started in a few minutes. I'll just give people time to come into the meeting. Just wait another minute and then we'll get started. Thank you for joining today. Welcome to today's webinar, everybody. My name is Francesca Sefton. I'm one of the clinical managers at ATtherapy. I lead the AT Tech team and I'm a highly specialist speech and language therapist. Thank you so much for joining us. Amy is going to deliver a fantastic webinar today. And throughout, can you please write any questions into the chat box? We'll be keeping a close eye on this. Please let us know if you have any technical issues as well in there. The webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to our ATtherapy website and also YouTube channel. So I'll hand over to Amy now to start today's webinar. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Fran. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Fran. Could you just allow me access again, please?
Yeah, it does say you've got access. I'll just try again. Yeah, it says you can control the screen. Do you want to try again?
Yeah.
Is that okay? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So hello, everybody. My name's Amy Robertson and I work with ATtherapy as part of the education team. My official role is education and therapy assistant. Previously, before working with ATtherapy, I was a one-to-one with a learner with autism in a mainstream school. So I have a little bit of previous knowledge about working in the classroom, how it's quite hands-on, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy this webinar. So again, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll get back to them. Okay, so just a quick outline of the structure for today's webinar. Again, Fran, sorry.
There you go.
Thank you. So the structure of today's webinar, we're going to go through a few different things. So number one is going to be top tips for the classroom. The next part will be how to support attention skills within the classroom. The third part will be how to support memory skills within the classroom. Fourth part will be discussing valuable visual supports for the classroom, and then we'll do a discussion / like question and answer at the end. So this is something that we've put together that you will get at the end of the webinar. So this is just outlining some of the things that we're going to be discussing. So we're going to look at saying the learner's name first and why that's important. We're going to focus on effort and not the mistakes. We're going to reframe language from negative to a positive. We're going to look at thinking outside the box. We're going to talk about active listening, and we're going to talk about minimizing language and why that's important. So here is Laura Cokes, and she's just going to chat quickly about her top tips and give an example.
Hi, I'm Laura. So I have used the strategy of saying the learner's name, and it sounds like such a simple strategy, but I was working in a school with a teaching assistant who was providing a brick club, and what was happening was when the children were giving each instructions, none of them realised that the other person was talking to them. So having an aim for everyone in the group, adults and children, to use each other's name before giving them an instruction made such a difference to their ability to listen and their success in following the instructions. So yeah, great strategy.
Brilliant. So we'll move on to, again, saying the learner's name and why it's important. So first here, it offers numerous benefits. So first, we've got engagement. So it captures the learner's attention, especially in the education setting where engagement is crucial. It adds for personalisation, that personal touch making the learner feel valued and recognised. That's really important. Rapport helps build positive teacher-student relationship through familiarity. Responsiveness, it promotes attentiveness and is helpful for instructions and responses. It enhances memory and recall, associating information with names. It encourages active involvement by acknowledging contributions, as well as boosting motivation and self-esteem when used positively. And it improves overall communication quality, fostering inclusivity and connection. So moving on to intrinsic motivation and a growth mindset. So intrinsic motivation, it's the internal drive based on personal satisfaction and interest, which leads to activity engagement. It involves finding fulfillment in a task rather than external rewards. So those with a growth mindset believe abilities can improve through effort and embrace challenges and failures as opportunities for growth. This can lead to like a higher success rate and their belief in adaptability and learning. So by focusing on the effort of the activity rather than any mistakes, it creates an intrinsic motivation and a growth mindset. So for example, learners can sometimes get discouraged by their own mistakes. So when you emphasize effort and problem solving over pointing out errors, it'll foster the growth mindset. So when a mistake occurs, instead of immediately correcting it, you could sit down with the learner, praise the effort and suggest reviewing any of the errors or mistakes together. This approach creates an environment where students will feel like motivated, they'll feel a lot more confident in tackling challenges, and they'll see their mistakes hopefully as an opportunity for learning and growing rather than something that, that's like a negative. Moving on to reframing language. So it's really important to provide language in a positive way. So positive phrasing plays a crucial role in guiding learners effectively. So when you put emphasis on what they should do rather than what they should not do, it fosters a more repetitive behaviour. So this approach transforms instructions from feeling like restrictions into opportunities for making good choices. For instance, consider the command "don't run." In this case, the final word, like run, tends to resonate with most children. When rephrased as good walking, the child hears the word walk, reinforcing the positive and desired behaviour. So this shift in wording helps focus on the desired action, making it more likely that they will follow the instructions and engage in the behaviour that you want to encourage. So on the next slide, we have Katie. She's going to share her top communication tip within working in the classroom.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a speech and language therapist working at ATtherapy. I would say that my top communication tip when working in the classroom would be if one of your students has a speech and language therapist involved, the therapist hands you over a programme with different ideas of activities that you could do with your student to help them meet their speech and language therapist aims or targets. I would suggest grabbing your speech and language therapist and spending 5 or 10 minutes going through their therapy plan and getting them to come up with some ideas of how their targets and their aims can be embedded into your classroom lessons. Grab your planning for the term or the next few weeks and whatever topics you're working on, and get your therapist to come up with some great ideas of how you can be working on those communication aims within your lesson. Communication's happening all of the time, and speech and language therapy shouldn't need to feel like some additional thing that you need to try and fit into your day somewhere. Speech and language therapist intervention can be so broad. It could be language, it could be speech, it could be memory, it could be early communication, vocalizations, it could be using AAC. There's so many different things that a therapist might be looking at with your students, but there'll be lots of different ways in which you can make that happen as part of your day-to-day lesson. So grab your therapist, grab a brew, spend a little bit of time having a chat about how they can make their therapy plan work in your day-to-day.
So the next slide is about thinking outside the box. So understanding a learner's preferred learning style, whether it's visual, auditory, reading, writing, or kinesthetic, is important because this information helps us inform how we approach challenging classroom paradigms, fostering critical thinking, creating a deeper comprehension. Some strategies include encouraging questions, presenting diverse perspectives, incorporating real-world examples, facilitating discussions, and promoting problem-based learning. So the principle of one size doesn't fit all is vital in education and life, because it acknowledges individual uniqueness and the need for tailored approaches. So why is it important? So diverse learning styles, why is that important? People have a varied learning preference. So again, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So recognizing this and accommodating these preferences enhances learning. And everybody learns at different paces. So learners progress at different rates. So tailoring instructions to that individual's pace, it optimizes the learning experience for them. Student backgrounds and experiences that can also affect the readiness to learn. So adapting methods of teaching bridges that gap. Individual goals of learners. So certain learners have different goals and interests. So aligning instructions with these aspirations fosters engagement. A lot of learners have different cultural and social economic factors influencing their learning. So a good sensitivity to these can foster engagement and promote inclusivity. A lot of learners have special educational needs and disabilities. So tailoring strategies and accommodations support with special educational needs. Critical thinking, this encourages diverse problem solving and fosters innovation. And a bit of personalised learning, so adapting the curriculum and methods to meet each learner's needs enhances their education. So on the next slide, we have Nikki, who will share some of her top tips when supporting learners in the classroom.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm one of the clinical managers and therapists here at ATtherapy. One of my favourite tips to give to class teams when supporting young people with their communication is to really make them feel valued and make them feel like you are truly listening to what they're saying. We work with a lot of teenage clients who will often feed back to us that they don't feel valued by the people that support them at times, maybe don't feel like they're really being listened to with what they're saying, the emotions they're demonstrating in maybe more subtle ways. So it's really important to use things like their body language, their non-verbal cues, like the way their body's facing when they're communicating with you. And by also acknowledging this and reflecting their communication style in your own, it's going to make them feel like you're an active listener and you're really engaged and valuing the interaction that you're having with them. This will really help to foster a positive relationship between you and the young person, and also help that young person really feel like an active participant in the classroom, and hopefully then participating more in the activity and communicating more, not only with you, but possibly other members of the team or the class as well.
So moving on to active listening. So for most people, I know for me, when I think about active listening, I automatically go to eye contact. So if a learner is listening, they are giving me eye contact, but that's not always the case. Sometimes eye contact, it's not comfortable for some of our learners or the young people that we work with. So we need to, as much as we can, look out for other signs of active listening. So we need to look out for those like non-verbal and responses, such as like body language and gestures. So we need to pay attention to the learners' like unique communication styles and their subtle signs. You're going to know your learners a lot better, and you'll know how they act, and their body language and their movements and how they're feeling through them. So just paying close attention to that will help us notice and look out for active listening. Also making sure that, again, we say the learner's name before, because that then makes way for the active listening. Moving on to minimizing language. So minimizing language when giving instruction is crucial, especially for learners functioning at a keyword level. So providing concise guidance is essential to prevent cognitive overload. For instance, complete sentences like go and hang your coat up in the cloakroom and then put your lunchbox on the trolley with your water bottle and come and take your seat. That can overwhelm quite a lot of students and learners. So instead, we need to try our best to simplify them sentences into keywords, like coat away, lunchbox away, take a seat. That just makes information more manageable and accessible. So we're going to move on to looking at strategies to aid attention skills within the classroom. So again, you'll get this sheet at the end of the webinar. So first, we're going to focus on attention skills. So attention skills. So we need to, when we're trying to do, when we're doing lessons or teaching or doing activities, we need to try and make objectives clear at the beginning of the session. We need to try and clearly state the learning objectives before starting the session. This will help with the learner understand what they are expected to learn and accomplish during this session. And it also provides direction and purpose, making the learning experience more focused and meaningful. Where possible, use attention pointers. So they're techniques or strategies that we can use to grab and maintain students' attention during a lesson or a session. These include engaging visuals, telling exciting anecdotes, asking like thought-provoking questions. Attention pointers can make the learning experience more engaging and help students be actively involved in that lesson or session. Making use of a whiteboard to highlight important information. This is one of my favourites. So using a whiteboard as a visual aid can be a powerful tool in teaching. Visually representing key concepts, diagrams, or like essential information. So this visual reinforcement helps students better understand and remember the material. It highlights the important information on a whiteboard, making it stand out, serves as a visual clue. those specific points. Avoiding distracting mannerisms. Now, this is quite hard because, you know, like throughout this webinar, I've probably said like a million times, but it's a really important point when working with a young individual in a education setting, classroom setting, speech and language therapy session, any sort of like interaction where it's like one-on-one or small group. Any distracting behaviours and mannerisms that can distract the student from the lesson. You know, that can include anything from fidgeting to using words like and even though we know it's really difficult sometimes. But yeah, trying to do that as best as we can, that can help the learner focus their attention. So avoid divided attention. So to enhance attention and avoid diverted attention, when we are using those whiteboards, we need to make sure that they are clean. That will minimize the distraction and ensure a clutter-free learning space. We need to provide clear, concise directions before the activity, not during. So give straightforward instructions before starting tasks, ensuring that students understand what's expected without confusion during the activity. And we need to try and foster appropriate physical and social environments. Again, this is not always, you know, as straightforward as it sounds. Not all students get on. But where possible, try to conduct the setting in a more socially dynamic way amongst students. Again, it can't always be avoided, but when we're working in small groups and there's just a few of them, it's a really good opportunity to put that into place. So attention span. So incorporating various activities and resources is essential to promote and sustain attention span effectively. So these can include tools like iPads, laptops, outdoor learning, hands-on experiments, interactive learning through play and engaging storybooks. Content differentiation happens not just because a student has additional needs, it occurs dynamically within the lesson or a task. And this differentiation can encompass various aspects, such as we've got the actual task differentiation itself. So assigning different tasks, including open-ended ones that naturally accommodate a varying learning levels and preferences. Sorry. Resource differentiation. This provides diverse resource options such as written material, visual aids, graphics, and ICT. This allows students to choose what works best for them. And time differentiation. For me, working in a mainstream primary school, this was one of the biggest. You know, not all learners will take the same amount of time to do an activity. So allowing certain learners more or less time to complete tasks based on their pacing and needs is really important. In order to support differentiation, offering support from the teacher and other support professionals, looking at specific requirements, looking at the outcome of differentiation, and looking at like the organisation of differentiation. So adapting and managing these in like a large setting is not always possible, but when you're in a smaller group, hopefully that will be a lot easier to accommodate. So moving on now to strategies to aid memory. So again, this is something else that we will be giving you at the end of the webinar. We're going to first look at mnemonics. So mnemonics is one of my favourite things because we have the bog standard ones like big elephants can always understand small elephants and silly animals in dresses, but you can get the learner involved in these and they can create their own meaningful mnemonics, something that means something to them. It could be from a TV show, or it could be from YouTube or a song. Whatever works to help them understand that spelling is great. You using mnemonics, it enhances memory. It personalizes that engagement for the child. It creates an active involvement, so they feel like they are involved in their own learning choices. It's really personalized, it's engaging, and it helps create that deep understanding, and hopefully that long-term retention, which is what we're looking for with spelling. It gives meaning as well to otherwise random information, and in turn assisting in coding that information for the learner to retain it. So moving on now to chunked information. So when information is presented in small chunks, it does become more meaningful. It does help with encoding and eases the resilience on the short-term memory. So presenting it in small manageable chunks helps retention. It aids in effective encoding, allowing the learner to process and store the information more effectively. So additionally, breaking down that content into smaller portions reduces the burden on the short-term memory, making it easier for individuals to absorb and work with the material effectively. So presenting information. So sometimes there's going to be a lot of information within a session. So presenting it and structuring it in a structured manner is going to really, really help the learner. Where possible, pick out the key points and summarize. And it's also important to remember to present the information at the appropriate level for the learner. Yeah, all this makes way for encoding. So it gives learners the it guides learners in the process of encoding, helping them transform that information into a format that's more memorable and easier to retrieve for them. And when we provide this overall structure, it offers an overarching framework, preventing learners from hopefully forgetting the critical details and ensuring a coherent understanding of the subject matter. So visual approaches, again, another favourite of mine. So I feel like visual representations are a really powerful tool for enhancing information processing, memory, retention, and comprehension. They use graphics to convey complex ideas and provide several benefits for encoding information. And these include enhanced cognitive processing, simplification of complex data, spatial organization, visual memory, clarity and distinction, visualization of abstract concepts, sequential and hierarchical information, and interactivity. So it's visual elements are sometimes easier for individuals to remember, if that makes sense. So visual cues like color coding, they highlight differences, aiding in differentiation. As humans, we remember images better than text. I mean, I know I do. I'm a visual learner. So visuals are more memorable to me and for a lot of the learners that I've worked with. Another way of visuals is interactivity. So if we could make the visuals interactive, that's like another step. So that helps to engage users, reinforcing memory through like the hands-on exploration. So yeah, and it's a multimodal learning. So visuals complement various learning styles, and gives that diverse opportunity of not just like text or reading or listening. And also visuals, they're a transcendent language barrier between all learners. It's a lot easier for someone to pick up a visual and know what that means in terms of like using text and stuff. So moving on to new and important information. So two affecting teaching and learning strategies are linking new information to prior knowledge and pausing after essential points. So linking to prior knowledge, this strategy involves connecting new information to what learners already know. So it fosters interest, it enhances comprehension, promotes pattern recognition, boosts confidence, and aids memory. When we pause after giving information, kind of think of it as like pausing for processing. So pausing after key points allows the learners to process and digest information. It also prevents overload and encourages active engagement. It offers clarification opportunities and does support retention and reflection, which is really important. So moving on now, we've got we're going to look at valuable resources for the classroom. So this is a visual timetable that was made for one of the learners that I worked with in my previous role. So this is something really straightforward that I think anybody could make. It's made on Word using the table format, and I've just coloured in or filled in the boxes with specific colours that I know the learner likes. We've got our now, next, and then strip underneath, which has Velcro and it's easily detachable from the visual timetable. The pencil cases at the bottom, I think they were like 99p from Amazon. Again, with the Velcro, making it easily adapted. And then to the right, we've got like the little visual cards. So these are ones, again, that I've popped into Word with a box, and I've just either found an image online or I've taken a picture of something specific and popped that into Word. One of the most important ones of these little visual cards is the blank card. I found that really, really useful for if something unexpected happens that I haven't got a visual card for. I can just use like a whiteboard pen and just write down the transition on there, or draw a picture to best I can, and hopefully that you know, that will work for your learners as well. It's just a handy tool to have, you know, just in case you don't have that specific visual card. So yeah, any questions about that can again just pop it in the chat. Moving on to using lolly sticks. So again, it seems like a really easy, simple thing, and it really is. You know, most schools are, you know, Key Stage 1 have lolly sticks knocking around. So instead of flattening the visuals like on a desk in front of the learner, I just blue tack them onto something that's in the learner's direct eye line. So they're not looking around, they've just got what they need there right in front of them. Lolly sticks for example, I've got Meredith there. So we were talking about Meredith, we were describing what she looks like. So having that there as well, the learner has that picture of Meredith right in her eye line, just as like a visual representation of what she's talking about. Works really, really well. It's a really easy and simple thing that, you know, I think a lot of learners will benefit from. So moving on, again, this is my famous whiteboard and pen. So it can be used in many, many ways. I like to colour code most things when I'm working with individuals, because that helps with, like, again, their decoding and their retention of information. Like they think that, oh, the black colour, that's a capital letter, full stop's blue, the turquoise is commas. So yeah, so that's a really good way, like the colour coding. It also works in like the colourful semantics way that you can see on the right hand side. So for this learner, where is blue? So we've got the options of where on the left hand side in blue, so pool, sea, bath, and the learner has to fill that in to make the sentence correct. But if you can see as well, there's like a black triangle to remind the learner that the T needs to be a capital letter. using a whiteboard is really good to structure work. Breaks down information as well. So if you want to break down, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, it's really good for breaking down information. And as well, it can also be used as like a break for the learner. So not just always to give information. That whiteboard could be used as like a break in between activities for the learner if they want to write their thoughts and feelings down, or if they want to doodle or draw in between activities. It's a really good way of using the whiteboard for the learner. Okay, so here are the references of where I've got most of my information from today. If you would like access to any of them, if you just put the, if you copy and paste it into like Google, it should just come up for you. So Franny's going to jump on now and just tell you about some of the resources and other training opportunities that we have at ATtherapy.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was so useful, and I loved your examples of all the visuals. Really useful. Really like the now and next. Thank you. So we'll just move forward onto the last few slides. If you have any questions about the webinar, you want to, you know, think of a question for Amy after you get off, please just email info@attherapy.co.uk. Just some resources for you. We have lots of training videos available on our ATtherapy YouTube channel. And there's lots of freebies and SALT strategies for you on some of our Instagram accounts, which you can see on screen now. We also have a very active Facebook page with lots of updates about what we've been doing in sessions and training sessions that are upcoming. So if you don't follow us on Facebook, please have a look on there for us. Just to let you know as well, Nikki Jones, who is one of the clinical managers at ATtherapy, will be at the National Education Show in Cardiff on Friday the 6th of October with Toby Dynavox. So please feel free to go and say hello if you are going there. We've also got some upcoming Makaton training, Talking Maths, AAC building blocks, and lots of free CPD webinars and podcasts that you will be emailed about as you're on our mailing list. Our next AT training webinar will be delivered by Caitlin, who's one of our therapists. Her webinar is going to be on 20 top tips to support communication, and it will be Thursday, the 19th of October at 12 till 1, so a date for your diaries. But the booking link for that will be sent with the recording of today's webinar. So I think that's everything. If you have any questions, I'll just check the chat. There's a poll that's just been launched. It would be really helpful if you could give us some feedback from today's webinar. There's some lovely comments in the chat, Amy, saying great webinar. Thank you. Love all the ideas you shared. And thank you so much for all of the ideas and information you've shared. Such a great presentation, Amy. So thank you. We've got feedback coming through as well on the poll. So I'll stop recording now.